Zhao Chang'an returned to the year of graduating from high school. That year, my mother was still cooking at the construction site, and my father was still moving bricks at the construction site. That year, I and my good brothers were together with a female classmate who had forgotten about the future in the sea of people, with infinite longing for the future. That year, 18 Arhat was still working to build a website. Dongga is still selling burners. Xiao Magu is still selling stocks and cards to make a fortune. Zhao Chang'an raised his eyes and looked around, at this gust of wind. Even a pig seems to have infinite possibilities. Let's start changing from this point in Chapter 1. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 20 years of rebirth in life. I feel like my left elbow has been lightly touched. Whoosh, whoosh. A small piece of white chalk head, with a whistling wind, hit the window glass in front of Zhao Chang'an at high speed, leaving a small white dot. Then rebound on the corner of his left eye. Ouch! Zhao Chang'an let out a scream of pain and covered his left eye in embarrassment. I feel like tears and flowers are coming out. Haha! In the classroom of class 6 of grade 3, there was a burst of laughter. Especially Zhao Chang'an's arch-nemesis Yu Yingming, whose guagua, lao gua sound is particularly piercing. Zhao Chang'an, I see your heart has flown out. Don't rush to familiarize yourself with the business yet. If you don't work hard like you, the construction site won't be over in 4 months. You happen to go and move the bricks. Physics teacher Lu Dupeng is very satisfied with his miraculous skill of shooting off target but accurately hitting with twists and turns. Haha! In the classroom, there was another burst of cheerful laughter. However, apart from a dozen or so struggling brothers who gloated at their misfortunes, those top-performing students who thought they were doing well looked disdainfully contemptuous. The rest of the students are mostly spectators playing soy sauce. It feels very interesting, but there is no malicious intent. Zhao Chang'an, with your poor grades, I guarantee the ticket. You must be the first one in our class to make money. TSK, when the construction site of the top scorer's mansion pays wages, you have to pay, swish, pop. Ouch! Lu Dupeng, who suddenly changed color, used a whole piece of chalk this time. The attack method has also changed from the flick of 2 fingers magic to a whole hand, wildly pulling and biting and smashing fiercely. Chalk with decent quality. Yu Yingming, who was sitting in the middle of the 5th row and speaking happily, made a loud bang on his face. Explode into 3 pieces. He let out a scream of pain. The whole classroom fell silent in an instant. Because everyone knows that when the chalk in the hand of the Dupeng golden-winged carving changes from bouncing to smashing, it means he's really angry. At this point, it is absolutely not easy to provoke this bloated student, the physics teacher and the 3rd grade teaching director. I know there are many open and secret struggles, various disagreements, confrontations between your classmates. Lu Dupeng's tiger eyes widened and he looked around the classroom. But this is the school, it should be the cleanest place to learn knowledge. I don't care how you will behave outside of society in the future, such as flirting, licking hooks, crushing, playing dirty, showing off your strength and fighting hard, don't bring me to school. Zhao Chang'an let go of his left hand, and the corner of his eye was still painful with tears streaming down his face. However, compared to the surging waves in my heart, this pain is nothing but a drop in the bucket. A familiar yet unfamiliar bright classroom. Outside the window, the grass grows and the birds fly. In the early spring of March, several tall buildings are rising from the golden rapeseed fields. The familiar and unfamiliar young faces sitting next to them, filled with collagen. Only in the memories of the late 1990s and in movies and TV shows, can we see the simplicity of dressing up. Also, this passage seems to be deeply ingrained in memory. Zhao Chang'an silently thought to himself, but this is a school, at least in terms of learning, it is the most fair place. There is no hierarchy, no petty pursuit. Lu Dupeng took a breath and gulped down half a cup of tea. Continuing with a majestic roar, but remember, this is the school, at least in terms of academic performance, it is the most fair place. There is no hierarchy, no petty pursuit. The voice is loud and clear, the classroom was buzzing with noise. You can mock and ridicule others outside, but remember, this is the school, and you have no right to engage in such personal attacks on any classmates. Outside, in society, you can mock, strike, despise, and look down on anyone, and I have no control over it. But you remember, here you have no right to engage in such personal attacks on any classmates. Have the ability to use it in your studies and see the real results, instead of using those messy and disgusting methods. That's really it. Zhao Chang'an tightly covered his face with both hands, rubbed fiercely over and over again. It's really amazing. During Zhao Chang'an's long life, he had a remarkable memory in the field of language and had several clear language fragments that he repeated and memorized. This is one of them. I'll wear it now. Ah. Zhao Chang'an couldn't help but glance at the table in front of him. She looks white, plump, round, and smooth. Zhang Shun. He's still alive, at this moment, of course he is still alive. Haven't we seen each other for over a decade? Quietly looking out, there were several high-rise buildings under construction about 200 meters away. It seems that you can still see the faint green smoke emanating from the chimney of that simple small house. There, his father should be moving bricks, and his mother should be washing vegetables, chopping firewood, and cooking. Lu Dapeng. Ringing bell. When the bell rang for the end of class, a relaxed breath suddenly sounded in the classroom. The bombardment of land cannons, today can be considered the end. After more than 10 minutes of this class, everyone's eardrums and brains were bombarded wildly for more than 10 minutes. It's so loud that the pupils are out of focus. My head was pounded by hundreds of copper gongs, buzzing. Suffering is unbearable. Sigh. Lu Dapeng, who was improvising and speaking passionately, couldn't help but look disappointed. I can't fully enjoy urinating. With the end of class, the classroom suddenly became lively. Chat, stretch, go to the bathroom with friends, or go buy food and drink. Ambiguous eye contact, verbal playfulness, and palpitations between male and female classmates. Bang bang. The back door where Jingqi was sitting was heavily slapped by someone. The bustling classroom suddenly fell silent, and everyone turned their heads to look around. Can you do it in class 6? The cannons are so loud that we, Teacher Shu, can't even keep our voices down. The monitor of class 5 next door, Xiaolan, stood angrily at the back door with a pretty face. Pay attention next time, pay attention next time. In the next physics class, both the back door and hallway windows will be closed. Fan Chao, the class monitor sitting in the second row, quickly stood up and apologized. There's no way, it's a shame. Humph. Xiaolan gave a cold groan, twisted her waist, and left with 2 fried dough twists braids. Yu Yingming, if you have nothing to do in class in the future, shut up and no one will consider you a mute. Because of you alone, everyone was bombarded by the golden-winged eagle king for more than 10 minutes, and now they have been buried by the next class. Fan Chao saw Xiaolan leave and looked dissatisfied at Yu Yingming sitting in the 5th row. Can you blame me? It's not that Zhao Chang'an was distracted and thought about moving bricks. Chapter 2. Life must be deliberately forgotten. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ringing bell, the bell for class rang. Zhao Chang'an glanced at the clock in the classroom, it was 11:10. There is a small blackboard hanging under the clock. It is written in bold red chalk. 1:19 away from the college entrance examination. The homeroom teacher, Lao Chang, strode in with a visible anger on his face. Suddenly, Zhao Chang'an felt a familiarity. This old angry youth, old Wenqing, has known him for more than 20 years, and I have never seen him before, always hating heaven, earth, and society. Once this cargo ran to the city of Zheng where Zhao Chang'an was located, and a group of people were drunk and intoxicated. A person who was violently manipulated by this guy back then is, Zhao Chang'an glanced at Lao Jing sitting at the other end of the last row, leaning against the corridor door. Xiao Jing. Lao Jing complained about Lao Chang, Teacher Chang, you are biased. Old Chang, drunk, hugged old Zheng and loudly defended himself, you are all my own students, they are all whispering to each other. At that time, Zhao Chang'an, who was eating ice cubes to relieve his hangover, sprayed, why don't you explain yourself? But this guy is a true gentleman. Our class did a terrible job on the 3-touch test this time. I often come straight to the point. However, just this one sentence shook the entire class's heart. Teacher, do I feel like I did well on the exam this time? Lessening, who always dominates the class ranking, often whispers with surprise on her face. Zening did well in the exam and entered the top 50 or 46th places on campus. Yanxiu was also good, 87th. Old Chang's rare amiable expression. Then he changed his face again and said, the rest, Lu Chui, Zhang Xiaoxue, Fan Chao, Ho Jiafeng, and Xin Yueling, have not entered the top 150. Seeing Fan Chao and Lu Chui's affectionate faces, there was a hint of surprise and disagreement. Lao Chang exclaimed loudly, the reason why you think you did well in the exam is because the simplicity of the 3 test questions this time gave you a fatal illusion. If you do well, others will do better than you. In the classroom, silence fell. That is to say, the faces of Lu Zening, Li Yanxiu, and some extremely poor students who had never hoped for anything were okay. The rest of the face turned very ugly. Lu Zening, 631, 46th, Li Yanxiu, 598, 87th, Lu Chui, 577153, Zhang Xiaoxue, 561,190. Zhai Bei, 462513, Zheng Xiaoxiao, 457,523, usually, Lao Chang would just recite the top 10. This time it seems that I have been angry, reciting for 30 or 40 people, but still keep going. Yu Yingming, 440569, Yu Yingming turned back triumphantly and glanced at Zhao Chang'an sitting in the corner. If he works hard on this score, if he applies to an agricultural, forestry, and animal husbandry school with extra points, he will be lucky enough to attend a bachelor's degree. At least one specialty is not a big problem. There is learning. Are you numb? Did I steal your wife? Without daring to take a detour and look outside, Zhao Chang'an's unconscious wandering eyes met Yu Yingming's provocative contempt. For a moment, then get angry. Is this future grassland king at odds with me? What a despicable act. Zhao Chang'an, 401683. Lao Chang recited nearly 60 words in one breath, with over 20 remaining words. The people I read, including the last one Zhao Chang'an, at least you may still have the chance to learn. The rest of you. Lao Chang looks around the classroom. Everyone held their breath and lowered their heads, afraid of being targeted and suffering. From now on, with all your hard work, you may still be able to attend a garbage college. Otherwise, if you enter society in 4 months, I hope you don't forget the principles of being a good person that Teacher Chang taught you. You should act right and stand up straight. Ringing bell. As the school bell rang, the entire campus immediately became lively. Most of the students in the class who live on campus, men and women, holding their lunch boxes, rushed towards the cafeteria. Anzi, let's go, you still have hysteria. Wu Yu and Zhao Chang'an in the 4th row are mostly on the same road. You go first, I won't go home at noon. Zhao Chang'an looked at Wu Yu's lively smiling face, feeling extremely happy and bitter in his heart, with his eyes slightly tingling. Wu Yu attended medical university for a 5-year program and then pursued a 2-year graduate degree. After graduating from graduate school, I rested at home for a few days, waiting to report to the provincial medical department for work. However, due to his contract dispute, I angrily went to Xia Wenjue to argue and smashed his office. The next day, he was hit by a drunk driving car and broke his left leg, resulting in a comminuted fracture. Later, based on on-site investigation, it was determined that it was a drunk driving traffic accident. However, Zhao Chang'an knew that things were definitely not that simple. "Oh, come over to my house and eat." Wu Yu suddenly remembered what Zheng Xiaoxiao had said before, knowing that Zhao Chang'an's parents were both on the construction site, and he was also alone when he returned. "Don't worry, your father must escort us into the school gate in the afternoon." Zhao Chang'an quickly waved his hand. Time cannot easily erase the terrifying and profound memories of Wu Yu's parents who take everything seriously. Wu Yu's face was full of disappointment. She had originally planned to come out early after lunch and go to the game room to play a double street bully. The classroom quickly became empty. Zhao Chang'an sat in his seat and instinctively touched his crumpled pocket before realizing that he was still a good young man in his third year of high school who did not smoke or drink. "Zhao Chang'an, won't you go home at noon?" Lu Chui, sitting in the third row in front, turned around. Due to the obstruction of densely arranged textbooks on the back desk, only half of her small face was exposed. A pair of slightly sharp eyes, particularly eye-catching. "I'm not hungry." Listening to Zhao Chang'an's irrelevant answer, Lu Chui couldn't help but furrow her delicate eyebrows and say, "I was asking why you didn't go home. You only went back to eat after self-study next night, can you handle it?" Zhao Chang'an took out the inner pocket of his school uniform jacket, 3 pieces of 10 yuan each, 2 pieces of 3 yuan each. A total of 35 yuan. Sure enough. After many years, he has forgotten many details. "I can't even remember if I left after school, or if I was asked so much by Lu Chui. But he could guess if he had money in his pocket. After my father moved bricks at the construction site and my mother cooked at the construction site." His parents carefully discussed with him, saying that the foreman had agreed and he could go over 3 meals a day for free. Zhao Chang'an, who has terrible grades but arrogantly believes that he is a student from a key high school, the proud son of heaven, and is sure to do well in the future, would not bother eating with a construction worker. At that time, he slammed the door and left. So his mother gave him money to eat outside in the morning and noon, and at night she came home to cook a small stove for him alone. Looking at the 35 yuan in hand, Zhao Chang'an's heart was suddenly blocked and uncomfortable. Many years later, when he got married and started his career, he was mercilessly beaten by society over and over again. Zhao Chang'an only then understood the hardships and difficulties that his parents had endured in their hearts over the years. "But at that time, my parents also retired. My father is in his 60s and doesn't want to have free time. He has taken on an apprentice and works as a technical guide in his factory, taking a day off from work." Zhao Chang'an also advised his father not to go, but his father insisted repeatedly, saying that if he didn't enter the factory for a few days, he would feel pain all over. But Zhao Chang'an knew that his father was living in a precarious situation and was afraid of poverty. He has been working as a plasterer for almost 20 years, and his body has always been in pain. It hurts whether he can enter the factory or not. Zhao Chang'an and his wife are working in Jing City. Although it is hard, the salary is still decent. My family in Shanqing bought land and built a 3-story small building. The storefronts on the first and second floors were rented out, and I still have an annual income of 40,000 to 50,000 yuan. There is another sensible daughter. Although the family is not very wealthy, they are still living a relatively comfortable life. At this point, both Zhao Chang'an and his parents are deliberately forgetting this most difficult and bitter time. Those framing, crackdowns, humiliation and hatred. They are deeply buried in their hearts. I'm afraid that my closest relatives will know that I have never forgotten. Why aren't you talking? Lu Chui saw Zhao Chang'an pulling out a handful of money, her face twisted and gloomy, and her heart felt a bit urgent. What? Zhao Chang'an exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and everything that could not be recovered was just flipping through the pages. From now on, he tilted his neck high and looked at the ceiling of the classroom above him. Saying that my fate is determined by me, not by heaven, it seems a bit too sentimental. But in this lifetime, we can never live so miserably anymore. I said, why don't you go home? Zhao Chang'an, we still have 4 months left before the college entrance examination. When we get into college, the sea is wide and we can swim freely. It's really not worth it for some morale struggles. You stayed in class because you were afraid that I would cause damage and mess with things from you. Yingming and Zheng Xiaoxiao. Zhao Chang'an looked at Lu Chui in surprise. You haven't gone to eat yet. I'm just so foolish and childish in your eyes. Hee, I'm not hungry either. Lu Chui, who was told about her central thoughts, couldn't help but blush. But she is really afraid that Zhao Chang'an will vent her hatred like this. At this time, the school, even the entire mountain city, could not find a few cameras. This kind of thing that goes unrecognized without being caught on the spot has gone viral. In that case, once the contradiction intensifies, there may be a big incident in the future, and the school has also experienced similar incidents. As the class leader, this is her responsibility. Zhao Chang'an glanced at the time, 11 points. He stood up and looked at Lu Chui with a smile. Okay, we can't let our private secretary accompany me to go hungry. Zhao Chang'an, what are you saying? Lu Chui's face turned red from the ground up. Anger flashed in both eyes. Chapter 3. Insufficient money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 20 years of rebirth in life. Apologies, a momentary slip of the tongue. Oh, my stomach is so hungry. Zhao Chang'an woke up. This meme will have to be told in front of female classmates in 15 years. To win the other party's tacit understanding with a smile. Saying it now will only be seen as teasing her. Playing pranks on Lu Chui. Zhao Chang'an inwardly exclaimed, the wind is tight and pulling, leaving is the best strategy. He deliberately frowned and pressed his stomach, then ran towards the back door. Zhao Chang'an. Stop and speak clearly to me. After Lu Chui saw Zhao Chang'an being mischievous and teasing her, she actually wanted to sneak away through the back door. How could he be so satisfied? She blushed with anger and rushed towards the front door in anger. I want to block him from the front. When passing by the podium, casually take away the teaching stick made of bamboo roots from the top of the podium. As Zhao Chang'an ran out the back door, he turned his head and saw the whip in Lu Chui's hand. I couldn't help but be shocked. Lao Chang is a genuine person who dares to fight and fight, Iron Man. So in the past 2 years, the mischievous brothers in the class have been punished with this poisonous whip. Including Zhao Chang'an. The ones who haven't been in the class are called dog-beating sticks. These people who have been whipped are called whipping the master. And Lu Chui was not only the champion of the single dance in the youth group of the city's Chuanmiao Cup ballet in the 3rd year of junior high school, but also the champion of the traditional martial arts boxing in the youth group. Her uncle is still the freshman in the city high school. Auntie is even more lively in the city. For a girl who needs to learn, have a good appearance, and have a background. If the unreasonable Zhao Chang'an were caught by the enraged Lu Chui, he would be whipped twice. He really has nowhere to reason. Moreover, Zhao Chang'an's actual psychological age is enough to be Lu Chui's father. If this little girl were to whip me twice, is he still ashamed to death? Zhao Chang'an rushed out of the back door and saw that Lu Chui had also run out of the front door, so he had to run towards the east. Seeing this scene, Lu Chui laughed angrily and said, what a fool. Suddenly, he became less anxious and rolled up his sleeves, revealing Bai Xingxing's thin arms. Prepare to catch turtles in a jar. Immediately, Zhao Chang'an ran out of the range of the teaching building. Stupid. Class 6 of Grade 3 is located on the east side of the first floor of this teaching building, adjacent to Class 5 of the Key Science class. And at the easternmost point, there is a large public restroom arranged horizontally from south to north. Male left, female right. To the south is the second-year high school teaching building, to the north is a 2.3-meter high courtyard wall. After 20 years of parting, Zhao Chang'an actually forgot about this matter. He should go straight south as soon as he leaves the back door. Racing with Lu Chui, they rushed out of the middle aisle of the second-year high school teaching building ahead of her. Although Zhao Chang'an dare not say he can compete with Lu Chui's long legs, it is always 100 times better than entering the jar now. Zhao Chang'an glanced at Lu Chui's slow and approaching blushing pretty face under the noon sun. In the eyes, there is an indescribable gaze of death. In desperation, I couldn't help but look towards the men's restroom. Until now, this situation. He seems to have to rely on squatting in feces to get out of trouble. Run, watch you go. If you go to the bathroom, I really can't do anything about it. But I can wait slowly. Let's compare our patience. Lu Chui couldn't help but wonder what Zhao Chang'an was thinking when she saw him looking at the door of the men's restroom. I am eager for him to enter. It's better to suffocate this bastard alive and make him talk cheap. At the corner of my eye, I saw 3 people coming out of class 5. Lu Chui glanced sideways. Xia Wenjue has consistently ranked first in science in his senior year of high school, and he still holds the top spot in the final exam. Class monitor of class 5, Xiao Lan from the top 50 of the basic school. I lived with my aunt in the high-tech zone during my junior high school years, in a large courtyard where Pei Pingjiang's son, Pei Shuezhe, lived. He is also a top 10 student in the basic school. Annoying. Lu Chui frowned and showed her displeasure, but she couldn't speak up to drive people away. Continuing to threaten Zhao Chang'an, he stared at him and said, "Go in." At the moment when he saw Xia Wenjue in the corner of his eye, Zhao Chang'an's scalp exploded, as if the whole world had lost its color and stopped running. Only the place where she stood was shining with a bright and dazzling color. By bending his fingers, except for TV, magazines, mobile phones, and computers, he hadn't seen this woman for 15 years. There is no love that has long been indifferent to the wind, nor can there be hatred that has never been hurt. Zhao Chang'an took a long breath, his face turning slightly pale, and he tried to dispel all kinds of negative and mixed emotions in his head. Focus on Lu Chui and the whip in her hand. Is this girl really causing trouble for Dad? Zhao Chang'an couldn't help but complain in his heart. He didn't have a habit of squatting in the toilet to rest and refresh himself. Moreover, stuck in the toilet by a girl. If it's rumored that he can't improve his reputation, it will lead to social death. However, being whipped twice by Lu Chui, his reputation is still a social death. Especially in front of this woman, he cannot be whipped by these 2 lashes. Do you have any paper? Zhao Chang'an deliberately disgusted Lu Chui and asked loudly. I hope this method can scare Lu Chui away. Qian Lv's skills are exhausted, don't you still want to nod your face? Do you still want to nod your face? Lu Chui held the whip in her right hand, which was neither light nor heavy, and slapped her left palm with ease. With a smile on his face, intimidating the approach. And I have it, do you want it? The 3 people who had been standing at the corner of the building watching the excitement suddenly spoke up. The 4 people present were all shocked in their hearts. Xiao Lan and Lu Chui looked a bit silly at Xia Wenjue. How can these 2 people get involved? Pei Shuezhe, wearing myopia glasses, had a cold gaze. For the first time, with a straight eye, he looked at Zhao Chang'an, who looked like a little rascal and a poor student in his eyes. Hee, I'm teasing you guys. It's time, I'm going to eat. Zhao Chang'an didn't even glance at Xia Wenjue next to him, suddenly pulling out his leg, he charged towards the north. Whoosh, bringing up a gust of wind howling. When rushing towards the north courtyard wall, my body suddenly jumped up high and my left foot fiercely stepped on a brick 1 meter high on the wall. Prepare to effortlessly climb up the wall with the help of lift. Then he waved his hand towards Lu Chui, not taking away a cloud. Go to the construction site behind the rapeseed fields for a meal. At this point, Zhao Chang'an had already figured it out. What ignorance, arrogance, shallowness, and shame was his past pride in self-esteem. How much more guilt and burden does it add to the hearts of my parents? In this lifetime, he will no longer, he will make up for it, he will, walalala, as a result, my feet soften. The wall has collapsed. Amidst the vast expanse of dust, Lu Chui, Xia Wenjue, Xiao Lan, Pei Xuezhe. Shocked, he looked at Zhao Chang'an standing awkwardly in the dust and smoke, as well as the continuously collapsing courtyard wall. Confused in a speechless manner. Lu Chui, Xiao Lan, Pei Xuezhe, this wall falls down as soon as it is touched. Now that it falls down is actually a good thing, eliminating safety hazards. Can you please not say that, but rather say that Zhao Chang'an falls down as soon as he touches it while practicing leg pressure against the wall. Xia Wenjue's pretty face is a bit pale. This matter can be big or small, but once it gets bigger, dismissal is not impossible. However, if it can be classified as an accident, no, I'm the class monitor and the president of the school student union. Xiao Lan's sharp and decisive refusal. Then, glaring at her good sister Xia Wenjue, he put out his little tongue. I'm concentrating on my study in the classroom, and I haven't seen anything. Turn around and take a quick step back to work. Pei Xuezhe, will you go back to the classroom? Wenjue, do you know each other? They are all built by the city and have been neighbors of the same building since childhood. Okay, let him walk through the collapsed wall, I'll take responsibility for this. Pei Xuezhe looked at Xia Wenjue, his eyes filled with something self-evident. Don't worry, the cause of this matter lies with me. You two should do whatever you want. Lu Chui glanced at Xia Wenjue and ran towards Zhao Chang'an. Zhao Chang'an, are you okay? Did you smash it? Lu Chui ran over and saw that Zhao Chang'an was only covered in dust and there were no messy bricks around him, so she finally felt relieved. This is special, Zhao Chang'an instinctively touched his pocket, I didn't feel any smoke, I can only feel the thin 35 yuan inside. Watching the collapse stop, a gap of no less than 30 or 40 meters. After swallowing a mouthful of water and struggling with a very unpleasant expression, he said, how much will we have to pay for this? Without a doubt, pointing to the 35 yuan in his pocket, it must be far from enough. Chapter 4. Why be so harsh? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's going on, what's going on? The wall has collapsed. The sound of this collapse is too terrifying. As a result, the smoke and dust on this side had not dissipated yet, and a teacher in the distance was shouting to rush towards this direction. Above the windows of the second-year high school teaching building in the south, there were scattered students who had not gone to eat or watched the excitement. Compared to whose neck stretches out in the air. There are also many students in the classroom on the third floor next to it. Run downstairs. I saw cracks in this wall, so I tried to push it with Zhao Chang'an and it collapsed. Lu Chui saw a strange male teacher running over and quickly explained loudly. Upon hearing Lu Chui's words, Xia Wenjue remained speechless after Lu Chui just said, what should you two do? I gave Lu Chui a deep glance but didn't speak. Is there anyone inside? That male teacher's voice is trembling. He obviously thinks deeper. Ah. There isn't one here, so should there be none over there, right? When she said these words, Lu Chui's face turned white. The voice also began to tremble. Outside this wall, there used to be a large barren hillside with pine trees and graves, but somehow a small path passed through the courtyard wall. People often walk. The only hope now is that it is noon, and no one has passed by during this period. What are you staring at? Go out and take a look. The male teacher rushed past Lu Chui and Zhao Chang'an and jumped onto the pile of bricks. Zhao Chang'an, Lu Chui, Xia Wenjue, and Pei Shueja who came to their senses. He also hurriedly ran to the top of the brick pile, frantically searching carefully. God bless, don't play with me. At this moment, Zhao Chang'an was also frightened by the teacher's words, sweating profusely in his hands and feet becoming weak. Don't be so special. As soon as you put it on, it hasn't been 2 hours yet, I'm going to squat for a few years. Stay away from the broken wall, be careful of the second collapse. The male teacher quickly ran through the chaotic brick pile of 30 to 40 meters, but did not see any obvious bloodstains or human clothing or bodies. My heart suddenly became much more stable. At this moment, more students and teachers also rushed over. 300 meters east of the city gate, with a roadside green belt at the entrance of the business school. Yu Yingming, Deng Rui, and 5 little rascals. Standing behind the lush evergreen green belt on the roadside, smoking a cigarette and drinking Sprite. Cowardly and coaxingly leaning towards the students on the road. It seems that they are just a group of kings who have the right to live, kill, and take away these weak students at will. At this point, there were not many day students passing by on the road. The whole road appears empty. What's going on, Yu Yingming? He's in a hurry to call me out. Did that kid slip away from another road? A thin yellow hair with messy hair like a bird's nest, waiting impatiently. Brother Jean, this road is his only way home. The road from the school gate to the south and north, he needs to take at least twice as much detour. Yu Yingming smiled apologetically and explained. Returning your sister's necessary path, dragging words with me, are you knowledgeable? Huang Mao opened his mouth and cursed, that's just you two being blind. Yu Yingming and Deng Rui looked at each other with ugly faces. They rushed over as soon as school was over. Yu Yingming went in to invite someone, while Deng Rui was responsible for keeping an eye on the road. When the 5 yellow-haired players who were playing cards were invited out, they cooperated and stared at the dead fish's eyes. Search for Zhao Chang'an. In just over a dozen minutes, nearly 2,000 students rushed out in a swarm. 100 or 200 teachers, there are also a large number of parents who pick up students. Walking, bicycles, motorcycles, noodles, small cars. A chaotic and bustling crowd. In addition, the students are all wearing school uniforms. They really dare not guarantee that they didn't miss it. Moreover, even if they didn't overlook it, Yu Yingming and Deng Rui dared not speak up to refute the rampant Huang Mao. I only dare to compensate with a smiling face. Huang Mao held the BB machine at his waist and glanced at the time, saying, I'll wait for this grandson for another 10 minutes. Yu Yingming, whether you're going to fight or not, you have to follow the rules this afternoon. Do you understand? Okay, Brother Jean, no problem. Yu Yingming spoke with bitterness in his mouth. What's wrong, you're heartbroken about the money. I understand, Brother Jean. Brother Jean, if we can't catch it by noon, should we continue to catch it this afternoon? I had a drink at noon, and in the afternoon, my brothers are going to pick me up. That night, do you study at night? Haha, Huang Mao and the 4 ruffians all laughed. At that time, the brothers all hugged the girl and talked about life in bed. So tomorrow morning. Xian Xiu, you guys should arrive at school before 6:30 in the morning. I'm your mom, wake up so early. Huang Mao impatiently glanced at the BB machine and said, it's time, brothers, go drink. Okay. After drinking, go pick up girls. Refreshingly crooked. A few little rascals shouted excitedly. Yu Yingming, you can fight if you want. Huang Mao and the other 4 little ruffians quickly exchanged glances. Everyone can see the 4 words stupid people, more money. Continuing to bewitch Yu Yingming, tomorrow at noon, you choose a place, or else we'll just block the school gate and give you a bad breath. Let you shine inside the school, how about that? Yu Yingming and Deng Rui exchanged a glance, feeling helpless and resentful towards Zhao Chang'an. This grandson cannot come out well, appear in front of them. So that Jean Mao and the others can give a good lesson. After seeing that the collapsed courtyard wall did not hit anyone, a visiting executive vice president learned the situation from Lu Chui in just a few words. Tell all students not to pile up here. Go back to the classroom, go to the cafeteria, use the restroom, do whatever you need to do. You two don't have any psychological burden either. If it weren't for pushing the wall recklessly, but for promptly reporting cracks to the teacher, it would still be commendable. But this is not a big problem either. It belongs to those who unintentionally did a seemingly bad thing, helping the school eliminate a major safety hazard. Who is she? Watching the excitement on the side, Pei Shuezhe could see the peculiarities in this matter. Ask Xia Wenjue in a low voice. It's ridiculous that Lu Chui has been living in the courtyard of the high-tech zone for a year, but this guy has no impression at all. It's not important, let's go. I'll go to the cafeteria. Xia Wenjue glanced at her, and from then on, he saw her as Zhao Chang'an in the air. I let out a deep sigh in my heart, turn around and leave. Sometimes, the right and wrong between adults can have a profound impact on their children. Even if their previous relationship was good. It's also unavoidable. Zhao Chang'an, why are you still walking there? Aren't you rich if you don't go home and don't know how to buy food? Lu Chui looked puzzled as she saw Zhao Chang'an walking towards the collapsed courtyard wall instead of going to the gate. I went to the construction site for a meal, and my parents and the construction site foreman agreed to have 3 meals a day without any money. My mom said they all use rotten wooden templates and broken pine tree strips to make rice in a pot. The pot is so fragrant, how about it? Envy, or drool? Zhao Chang'an glanced at the electronic watch on his wrist. Exclaimed in surprise, dinner will be served at 12:30 sharp, I have to run. Goodbye, waving his hand towards Lu Chui inside the collapsed courtyard wall, revealing a brilliant smiling face, he turned around and ran away. Quickly pierced through the chaotic graves. What are his parents doing on the construction site? Vice Principal Duan looked curiously at Zhao Chang'an's back and asked Lu Chui. I just found out, let's work there after being laid off. Lu Chui spoke quite vaguely. Looking at Zhao Chang'an disappearing into the pine forest, his heart was filled with a complex expression of surprise. At her age, if her parents were in such a situation. She really can't bring out such a relaxed and casual mood, facing this matter directly and openly saying to go to the construction site to grab a meal. Speaking of hypocrisy, it's good to be pretentious. As children, who likes to let outsiders know that their parents are still in a mess in middle age, lying at the bottom and relying on hard work to make a living. This student is a bit interesting. Principal Duan, he won't just be flipping. Lu Chui's heart sank suddenly. Okay. Vice Principal Duan interrupted the teacher next to him heavily and said in a low voice, don't speculate without evidence. And now that a huge safety hazard has been discovered in advance, why be so harsh on your students? Lu Chui glanced at Vice Principal Duan in surprise. Actually, in her heart just now, there was still some hidden disdain. Now I understand, I am truly a foolish person who thinks I am righteous and disdains the noble character of others. 20 years of rebirth in life. Chapter 5. On the construction site. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After passing through the small pine forest covered with graves, Zhao Chang'an passed through a large vegetable field, and in front of him was a large golden rapeseed flower field. 3 tall buildings are rising from the ground. There are also several rows of villas under construction along the south bank of the Fu River. There is a small excitement in my heart. Even in his previous life, he worked in Jing City and hasn't returned home for half a year. Zhao Chang'an shook his head vigorously, once you come, take it easy. Some things are meaningless no matter how you think about them now. If you really have a heart, just work hard and work hard. Wait until you have sufficient resources and voice, then consider what may seem impossible but possible. Zhao Shubin sat on a pile of pine poles by the kitchen, holding a large bowl and wolfing down his food. His woman Zhang Lishan also carried a big bowl. But only half a bowl of rice was served, and I ate it in small bites. Surrounded by construction workers, far and near, it was packed with them. Couples work together while eating and chatting, while men and women who are alone talk and laugh while eating and making noise. Those who love to take a sip, sipping small wine, holding a cigarette in their mouth, look relaxed. A few players with a strong addiction to playing cards have already finished eating them in small bites, taking advantage of their lunch break and making small bets to win a cigarette money. Zhao, did you tell Huang Yichun? Xia Changhai and his wife are plasterers, with high salaries and early meals. They washed dishes, lit a cigarette, and sat down next to Zhao Shubin. I said it, but I just told Lao Niu. He said we'll talk about it at the next construction site. Xiaoxia, our construction site is almost completed this autumn. By this time next year, your sister Law and I will also be two high-paying plasterers. Zhao Shubin swallowed the food in his mouth and spoke happily. Xia Changhai was slightly taken aback, sighing in his heart that Zhao Shubin still had no understanding of human relationships and worldly wisdom. In Niu Mengen's view, this is a big deal, how could it bypass Huang Yichun's intervention? Besides, who does Niu Mengen recognize you as? Brother Zhao, Jiang Jie next to her furrowed her eyebrows slightly. Xia Changhai glanced at his wife who was about to speak and said with a smile, that's a good relationship. Zhao, let's go ahead and talk about it step by step. Zhang Lishan faces Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie. I smiled awkwardly. My husband is like this, he can't understand the perfunctory words outside. But what can we do now? As Xia Changhai said, one step at a time. And now our family can earn around 1,000 yuan per month, and the two of us have also saved money on food. It's 100 times better than the money we spent on buying meat during the Chinese New Year at the end of last year, which was sold as family items. You should know that my son's tuition fees for this semester were borrowed from Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie. Changhai, Jiang Jie, the money we owe you, Zhao Gu and I. Sister Shan, what are you saying? Now that Chang'an is about to take the college entrance exam, my godmother's thinking is not careful. Even if you speak up like this, I feel sorry for being my godson. Jiang Jie interrupted Zhang Lishan directly and said, if you want it back, you can tell Chang'an to buy a piece of fur for his godmother when he finishes college and earns his salary. You're really dark. On one side, Xia Changhai saw Zhao Shubin finish his meal and quickly handed him a cigarette. My godson is filial to me, what do you care about? Jiang Jie spoke of happiness on her face, as if she was now wearing the fur bought by Zhao Chang'an. Aunt Zhang, the rice you made is really delicious. The fish soup is really delicious and clean. Today's fish head tofu soup has no scales on it. At this moment, a small girl wearing a high school uniform came over to wash dishes, holding a lunch box. The school uniform worn by this girl is noticeably 2 sizes larger. It is as wide as a Taoist robe. Xiu Tu Bulaji's second male head, not looking at fair and tender skin and delicate bones, like a malnourished tomboy. Eating more fish is smart, there is still a lot in the pot, you can have another bowl of fish soup. Zhang Lishan smiled and looked at the foreman's daughter. Well, I'll just drink soup, don't let my mom know, otherwise it will drive me crazy. The tomboy hesitated for a moment, unable to resist the temptation of delicious food. Knowing that his parents were not on the construction site, he looked around anxiously and crawled into the kitchen. If this girl dresses up, I don't think she's any worse than Xia Wenjue, and her studies are just as good. I heard she's the top science student in her sophomore year. Zhang Lishan likes other people's beautiful daughters just like she looks at her future daughter. Law. Don't look at Xiao Qin, this slut, boasting every day that her girl is the #1 and the school flower of the first high school. Let me put it out loud. Jiang Jie next to her was reminded of bad memories. Hatred said, This girl's future is 100 times stronger than that Xia Wenjue. Alright, what do we do when it comes to children's grievances between adults? Xia Changhai doesn't allow women to continue talking nonsense. Mom and Dad, do you still have food? I'm starving. Uncle Xia, Aunt Jiang. Jiang Jie was about to teach a lesson to the man who dared to shout at her, when she was pleasantly surprised to hear Zhao Chang'an's voice in her ear. Quickly stood up and turned around, I saw Zhao Chang'an's bright smiling face that she liked. Chang'an, I haven't seen you in almost a year. How tall have you grown? I'm still 2 centimeters behind Uncle. Zhao Chang'an is now 1.76 meters, while Xia Changhai is 1.78 meters, with a difference of 2 centimeters. There's still food, I'll go and serve it for you. Zhang Lishan unexpectedly and happily exchanged a glance with her husband Zhao Shubin, both noticing their surprise and joy. Put down the bowl and prepare to stand up. Mom, you keep eating, I'll do it myself. After speaking, Zhao Chang'an entered the kitchen. Jiang Jie, female, cashier at the Jianmu Saw Factory in Yuanshan City. Xia Changhai, male, deputy factory manager of Yuanshan City Jianmu Saw Factory. Because the sawmill was forcibly cut down by Xia Wenyang, a joint venture was established to build a clothing department store market. Jiang Jie, Xia Changhai, and 7 or 8 other employees in the sawmill who had good relationships with Zhao Shubin and Zhang Lishan were all forcibly and unconditionally laid off. In Zhao Chang'an's junior year of junior college, Jiang Jie unfortunately stumbled and fell off a building under construction, falling to death alive. Not long after, Xia Changhai rode his bike and plunged into the bottom of a large truck. Their daughter, Zhao Chang'an's godsister Xia Weiwei, resigned as a salesperson at the mall. From then on, there was no news and disappeared into the vast sea of people. Wow, fish head and tofu soup, it's really delicious. Zhao Chang'an picked up a large bowl and walked out with a happy expression on his face. Chang'an, how was the 3rd mock examination exam? Xia Changhai also looked at Zhao Chang'an with a liking in his eyes. No boasting, to be honest. Zhao Chang'an drank a mouthful of fresh fish soup and sat on a cement brick beside his mother. If you're bragging, I'll listen too. Xia Changhai felt that Zhao Chang'an's mentality was vastly different from a year ago. Suddenly, I became even happier. To be honest, it's 401 and the school's science ranking is 683. If there is no substantial leap in the remaining 4 months, we can barely get into our city's agricultural college. The agricultural college is great. Let me tell you, don't look down on our city's agricultural college. Half of the leaders in my hometown's rural areas are from the agricultural college. Jiang Jie suddenly became interested and said, after graduating from Chang'an, I will be assigned to the village and work hard for a few years to become a township cadre. You said it easily, there's no way out. Zhang Lishan shook her head straight. Don't worry, let's get together and make a good total when Chang'an goes to the agricultural college. Jiang Jie smiled mysteriously. Xia Changhai next to him knew that Jiang Jie's younger uncle was serving as the deputy secretary in Leishan Township, and had been rooted in his position for decades, working diligently. He was about to retire in 5 or 6 years. If only a college student majoring in agriculture could participate in rural construction before retirement. No one talks idle about emotions and reason. My daughter graduated from vocational school at the end of summer this year and has clearly proposed to find a job in the city. So this kind of heartfelt affection that can only be used once, the couple is preparing a path for their future son. In law just in case. Zhao Chang'an is Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie. When they first became pregnant, they recognized their godson. The couple really like him and treat him as their own son. As a son, my daughter gradually grows up. When 2 people were childhood sweethearts and the relationship between siblings was very good. Between 2 families, it's not without tacit understanding. However, shortly after Zhao Chang'an's high school entrance examination, Xia Wenyang forcibly cut down the municipal construction sawmill. Zhao Chang'an, whose family background has plummeted, has become increasingly eccentric, gloomy, and irritable in personality. Jiang Jie even saw him smoking and fighting with a group of ruffians on the street. The thoughts of Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie were gone. Now seeing the sunny godson from back then, he's back again. Jiang Jie and Xia Changhai, that's a heartfelt joy. Chapter 6. Hey, buddy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 20 years of rebirth in life. Fish soup is delicious, crispy and fragrant, making it a perfect match when mixed in a large bowl. Zhao Chang'an was holding a large and thick porcelain bowl, eating and sweating profusely, feeling very happy. Slow down, be careful of the fish bones, no one will compete with you. Zhang Lishan's rough eating habits made her heart skip a beat. How old is he? Eating fish still worries you. You can also eat slowly in Chang'an. Chewing and swallowing slowly is beneficial for your health. Zhao Shubin next to him was actually worried, but he spoke more skillfully. Most of them are my sons. Zhang Lishan glared at her husband and said to Zhao Chang'an, Chang'an, have you heard your godmother's words? There are still 4 months left for us to work hard and get our grades in the agricultural college stable. Ah, you really don't have any hope for me. Zhao Chang'an had a bowl of fish soup and rice in his mouth, and looked up at his mother with a smile. Didn't you hear it? There's a way for you, Jiang Jie's mother. If that's the case, getting into an agricultural college is more practical than getting a regular undergraduate degree. Zhang Lishan has elevated her godmother to Jiang Jie's mother for the sake of her son's bright future. This goes without saying, but if Chang'an could remove the words Jiang Jie, Xia Changhai and I would be even more satisfied. Jiang Jie has been regretful for not having a son for so many years. Watching Zhao Chang'an wolf down his food, the more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Chang'an, remember, when you receive your salary in the first month of graduation, give it to your mother, not me, and buy a piece of fur. Zhao Chang'an suddenly choked, he certainly knows why his mother said this sentence. But it should be 3 years later when he pays his first month's salary. At that time, he only realized this promise, I know that my family still owes my godfather and godmother 2,000 yuan. At that time, banks had a 3-year fixed interest rate of nearly 10%, sometimes even higher. Even the principal with interest is 27,800 yuan. In 2001, the per capita salary was only 700.800 yuan. After learning the truth from his mother at that time, Zhao Chang'an frugally saved up 4 months of salary and bought an ordinary-looking fur, 4,000 yuan, along with 2 bottles of high-quality liquor worth 110 yuan each. A memorial was burned in front of the graves of Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie. At this moment, Zhao Chang'an, who was suddenly awakened from the past, had a sore nose and couldn't help it anymore. Tears streamed down my face. I can't even wipe my school uniform sleeves clean. Seeing the parents and Xia Changhai and his wife beside him, they looked stunned. Isn't it that sad to ask you to buy a piece of fur? At this moment, Zhang Lishan was speechless towards her son and didn't know what to say. Fur is just a joke, which shows that Chang'an knows how to save money and live a good life. Unlike Zhao Gu and my old Xia who adhere to the principle of, money is earned, not saved, the result, hee. Jiang Jie's hee made Zhao Shubin and Xia Changhai's old faces turn red. No, Zhao Chang'an swallowed the rice in his mouth, wiped away his tears, and knew he had to give an explanation. Otherwise, it would really hurt my godmother's heart. My mother's words are definitely not unfocused. The gold ring on my mother's hand was missing before the Chinese New Year, but with that little money, we have many relatives at home, and my parents have good face. The food, tobacco, and alcohol we serve are good, and the children need a red envelope of 20. A gold ring is barely enough to support the Chinese New Year. Zhang Lishan and Zhao Shubin's faces suddenly changed. The two of them quietly exchanged a glance and shook their heads, indicating that they had not told their son about it. So, I always thought my son was still young, and the boy didn't notice these things carelessly. Turns out he already knew, and he silently remembers it in his heart. My son has grown up and become more sensible. Zhang Lishan's nose was sore, and tears welled up in her eyes. And Zhao Shubin's eyes also turned slightly red. So my tuition fees, as well as my living expenses for the upcoming year, have no place to settle. Zhao Chang'an looked at Jiang Jie with a tearful smile and said, "It must be my mother who said about this money. If you don't want it, godmother, just casually said that when I graduate from college, I will buy you a piece of fur. And my mother is truly grateful in her heart, and that's why you didn't actually plan to take it, while my mother has become a kind of persistence in her heart. So I cry because I really don't understand. My parents are so difficult, but I still don't study hard. I just take things, complain, and hang around outside." Zhang Lishan covered her face with tears, while Zhao Shubin turned his head and quietly wiped away his tears. Even Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie couldn't help but burst into tears. Zhao Chang'an used tear-jerking scenes to perfectly explain why he would cry. Zhang Lishan and Zhao Shubin, who believed that their son had grown up and become more sensible, and Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie, who were equally distressed by their own circumstances, were also distressed. It took a long time to calm down some emotions. And Zhao Chang'an ate a full bowl of fish head soaked rice in a pot, then filled a large bowl of fish soup and fish head tofu, and then opened it whole. Finally, he put down the empty bowl, wiped his mouth, and let out a satisfying hiccup. I looked enviously at the workers smoking cigarettes and puffing in the clouds after the meal. A bit greedy. His father and Uncle Xia are also smoking, but even if he gives Zhao Chang'an 10 sets of dog courage, he dare not go and smoke. Zhao Chang'an regretfully smashed his mouth and walked to the pool to prepare for washing dishes. I was surprised to see a small student wearing a large black eyeglass frame, looking down to wash dishes. I said the foreman wouldn't agree for me to come over and grab a meal, so there are still people who grab a meal. Zhao Chang'an sighed and looked around. Short hair, dark blue sneakers. There is a cheap electronic watch by the pool. And the school uniform he was wearing was 2 sizes larger. Ugly as Sun Monkey wearing a Taoist robe. It's also a poor fishing line. No matter how poor, just 1 size larger in school uniform is enough. These parents are really stingy. Zhao Chang'an, with a heart full of compassion, walked to the edge of the pool. Embrace this kid's shoulder affectionately. The hand feels as soft as boneless, and a hug reveals that this kid's body is very weak. "Hey buddy, my mom's craftsmanship isn't bad, is it?" he asked enthusiastically. Dan Kai, who was washing dishes, was just drinking fish soup in his father's office when he noticed a male student wearing a high school uniform by the construction site kitchen outside the window. At the corner of my eye just now, I saw this student walking over with a bowl in hand. But I didn't care in my heart. I didn't expect this guy to come over and just get started. Dansai's body trembled slightly in fear, and a wave of shame and anger surged in her heart. But she also knows her own business from her own family. The school uniform of City High School has remained unchanged for 4 or 5 consecutive years. The difference between male and female school uniforms is that the male school uniform is embroidered with a green tree on the chest, while the female school uniform is embroidered with a pink flower on the chest. She is bending down to wash the dishes now. Pink flowers are definitely invisible. And her mother dressed her up in a pitiful tomboy appearance. Being recognized as a male student is also a normal thing. The only difference inside is those male students who admit their mistakes won't come over and just hug them. Chapter 7. Single Color. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 20 years of rebirth in life. Are you Aunt Zhang's son, right? Dan Kai, who forcibly calmed her mind, tried to break free from Zhao Chang'an's embrace while leaning sideways. At the same time, he tried his best to look at Zhao Chang'an with a calm voice. Ah! Hearing a girl's voice in his ear, Zhao Chang'an's head felt a bit confused. Follow the small face that he is leaning towards and look down. I was shocked to see a very eye-catching pink flower embroidered on the front of this Taoist robe. Female. Zhao Chang'an's body trembled with fear. The left hand holding the fake kid's shoulder was like pressing on a bright red soldering iron. Just about to be busy and release. Chang'an, what are you doing? Let go. In my ears, I could hear my mother shouting with fear in her anger. Sitting 30 or 40 meters away, Zhang Lishan saw this incredible scene. Suddenly, my heart was so scared that it almost jumped out of my throat. I thought it was my own son, but I saw that the foreman's daughter was beautiful. Playing pranks on others. At this moment, these two high school students who were already eye-catching appeared on the construction site. A scene of embracing each other. Almost all the workers saw it. One by one, they looked dumbfounded. With a sigh in my heart, the daughter of the Bull Demon King, how dare this kid go and hug her? You are so cowardly, I don't know how to write death words. Apologize, I'm blind. Upon hearing his mother's shout in his ears, Zhao Chang'an immediately changed his mind and didn't rush to let go of his embrace, just like his shoulder with a hot iron. But rather a sincere apology in a low voice. Then he turned to his mother and shouted with a smile, "Mom, this is my brother. Why are you making a fuss about it?" This seems to be a very casual way of letting go. At the same time, the distance between the silent and single color was separated by 2 steps. Who is your buddy? Do I know you? Dan Kai heard Zhao Chang'an's mouth full of lies, and there was suspicion of damaging her reputation in her voice. Originally, it was barely maintaining normal, but with a slightly flushed face. Suddenly covered in disgusted frost. Don't bother, I'll find a place where nobody is around later. I'll admit to beating and punishment, and frown. I'm a coward. If I don't say that, even if I admit I'm wrong, these workers can guess. So, shouldn't we become their jokes while drinking? Zhao Chang'an looked at Dan Kai with a pleading gaze. If this matter gets too big, it will become a deliberate act of teasing the little girl. With his father's temper, he must have no face to continue working on the construction site. And it will definitely involve Xia Changhai and Jiang Jie. Dan Kai understood the meaning of the bastard in front of her. Saying it's a buddy at most makes people hesitant to say a few idle words in private. For example, Mr. Nyo's daughter actually plays with boys. In fact, if you really take it easy, it's not a big deal. But if it were assumed that this bastard had hugged him like a boy, this joke would make them happy to finish the construction site. Choose the lighter of the two harms. This principle is also understood by Dan Kai. For no reason, I didn't get offended by anyone, so I just washed a bowl. But he suffered 2 big losses in a row. If Dan Kai's heart can be happy at this time, that's what the hell. Stay away from me in the future. Dan Kai originally intended to say, don't come back in the future. But she knew the parents of this bastard in front of her. One worked as a laborer on a construction site, and the other cooked for the workers. Obviously, family conditions are very difficult. I bit my silver teeth, I only said one sentence. The meaning is, from now on, the sky is high and the water is far, just a short distance away, don't bother me. Definitely, definitely. Zhao Chang'an knew that the other party was already very tolerant and quickly nodded in agreement. At the same time, quickly turn on the faucet and start washing dishes. And Dan Kai continued to bow her head, carefully washing dishes and chopsticks. There is no understanding of Zhao Chang'an at all. What are alumni and self-introduction? Are you a freshman or sophomore, riding a bicycle over here? Zhao Chang'an has never heard of such a stylish outfit before, so he must not be a senior in high school. From the school gate to here, it is normal to take a detour of about 4 miles. Moreover, from the city gate to the parking lot, bicycle, on the west side of the 3 rows of teaching buildings inside, it is not only nearly a mile away, but also a gentle uphill journey. Since he bullied the other person a bit, Zhao Chang'an is willing to show his lip service. Help her save some road. Zhao Chang'an didn't get angry when he saw this fake kid ignoring him as if he hadn't heard him. I am already at this psychological age, why do I have the same understanding as a little girl who is 15 or 16 years old and can be my daughter? So, I continue to kindly remind you, you can ride your bike and walk south on a small path. There is an old tomb about 100 or 10 meters through the pine forest. If you don't know if you're afraid, you can save the road and directly enter the campus. Don't you have nothing to say? Do you know how annoying this is? Dan Kai is really angry this time. She thought it was the mother of the male student who told him that she didn't ride a bicycle and that every time she came over to eat, she would climb over a wall. So, this mother and son, including his father, the thoughts of these three people are somewhat sinister and impure. To put it bluntly, one doesn't know the vastness of heaven and earth. The toad wants to eat swan meat. Thinking about these three garbage parents and sons, they have such dirty thoughts about themselves. Dan Kai was furious and prepared to go back to the office to call her father, and immediately kicked these three people out. Are you thinking I'm teasing you? A bicycle can't cross the courtyard wall. Hee, you know what? The wall has collapsed. Zhao Chang'an felt a bit guilty and added, it collapsed on its own. What? Dan Kai didn't understand. If you don't believe me, go upstairs and see for yourself. Zhao Chang'an looked at the 7-story building that had already been built and said, you can see from the 3rd floor that the toilet collapsed by 30 to 40 meters. Dan Kai glanced at Zhao Chang'an and felt that this bastard seemed to have no need to lie about this matter. Her pretty face suddenly turned a bit pale. I won't wash dishes anymore, so I turned around and walked towards the building. Your watch. Where to put it, it can't be lost. I'll leave it at my mom's place, you go get it. Zhao Chang'an watched as Pao Di strode away, shouting softly to explain while picking up the electronic watch placed by the pool. Put it into the pocket of the shirt casually. The construction site is crowded with mixed hands, with fish and dragons mixed in. Carpenter, electrician, bricklayer, delivery driver, security guard, these 300 to 400 people. Zhao Chang'an really doesn't know where she got her confidence, can't she lose it? Hello. The big horn on the construction site suddenly sounded twice. Everyone stopped talking and recognized that it was the voice of the second foreman, Shan Xiaowei. I know there are the latest instructions. Today, all the bricklayers went to the north courtyard wall of Igao, and Tian Shiwu. You transferred 2 excavators, as well as enough sand, steel bars, cement stones, and granite to lay the foundation. The north courtyard wall of Shigao needs to be knocked down and rebuilt. The carpentry team and the electrician team also went over and were responsible for building a simple wooden template isolation wall first. What's going on? What does it mean? There was a lot of discussion on the construction site. Because the collapsed section of the wall was blocked from view by the pine forest, and at that time all the workers went downstairs to eat without seeing the devastating collapse. But for Dan Kai, she already understands that this guy she hates is not someone who talks to her without words. Saying, the northern courtyard wall has collapsed, it really collapsed. Dan Kai turned around and walked back, reaching out her hand to Zhao Chang'an. Chapter 8. The girl does not surname Cao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhao Chang'an, who had only been through for about 3 hours, still had a bit of a mental breakdown. I was thinking at high speed like a fleeting light, about which university in major to take the exam for. Should I wait until the college entrance examination is over and go alone to meet little Ma, Dong, Ding, and Zhang, these martial arts friends? And all kinds of things. Seeing the white and tender hands stretched out by the single color, I reflexively reflected on my work status in 20 years. Extend your right hand, which is still full of water, a small hand holding the single color. And to show his sincerity, he even tightened his grip and shook it vigorously. Just let go. What? The single color is a bit dizzy, what is the situation? I immediately understood that the bastard in front of me didn't know whether he was really stupid or just pretending to be foolish. In short, I was once again depressed and had been taken advantage of. All three combos. My table. Dan Kai was so angry that she felt like she was about to eat Zhao Chang'an, and words popped out of her mouth word by word. Ah! I forgot about this mess. Zhao Chang'an's face turned slightly red and he quickly took out a single-colored watch and handed it to her. I thought you apologized for the doubts you had about my words before, she said with a guilty expression. I apologize, you ghost. Dan Kai gasped for breath and snatched the watch from Zhao Chang'an's hand. Turn around and leave. Looking at this guy's mischievous and smiling face, her hands itched to the point of wanting to hit someone. At this point, the entire construction site has been disturbed. Chang'an, stop writing here and hurry back to memorize a few more words. Zhao Chang'an's English is not good, in fact, he is not good at any of them now, and Zhao Shubin's statement seems reasonable. Okay, when I saw my father, Xia Changhai and his wife, they had already taken shovel, trowel, tile knife, plasterboard, hammer, pendant, and these tools to start. Zhao Chang'an quickly ran over with a smile on his face. Chang'an, do you know that girl? Jiang Jie seems to ask casually. But his parents, as well as Xia Changhai's eyes, looked over. Obviously more concerned. I really don't know, Aunt Jiang. I thought it was a man just now, but I didn't know it was a woman. So I asked her in a low voice, are you willing to acknowledge it by default or let others know you're mistaken? Zhao Chang'an explained with a smile and took the shovel from his father. This girl's idea is really strange. She must have made a mistake in choosing to admit it. Xia Changhai felt that he couldn't understand at all. Is it because they are all from the same school that I have saved you face? Zhao's father also frowned and speculated that this was probably the only possibility. This girl has a strong sense of self-esteem, and it seems that she is actually very resistant to her mother's dress in her heart. Among the four people, Zhang Lishan was the first to understand. I heard that Mr. Niu bought a dress for his girl last year, but before she could wear it, she was called to the provincial capital by her uncle's report, and when he called, Mr. Niu was scolded to death. At the same time, she glared fiercely at her son and said, you know what? Although you managed to dodge this time, this girl probably hates you in her heart. Stay away from her in the future. Sister-in-law. Jiang Jie still hasn't figured it out. I am very dissatisfied with my intelligence. In one sentence, if you were a very ambitious and beautiful girl, would you be willing to let everyone know that Chang'an has embraced you like a boy, or would you assume that you are a friend by pinching your nose? Ah. That's it. Chang'an, this girl is the daughter of the foreman bull demon king. You should stay away from her in the future. Godmother told you, women have very small hearts and love to hold grudges. Is that right? The water in the well does not cross the river, there is no necessary intersection. Zhao Chang'an nodded honestly. Actually, I don't care in my heart. Just a slight surprise, it turned out that this girl wasn't poor enough to dress like this. My surname is Niu, as expected, a person is like their surname. My eyes saw the girl in the Dao Pao walking south along the rapeseed field with two security guards. There are two main things in Zhao Chang'an's mind now. That's just two small goals. Firstly, earn money. Let parents and families get rid of the current predicament as soon as possible, and parents no longer have to work so hard. Secondly, review well and strive to recall this year's test questions. Admit to a 211 university. If Zhao Chang'an expresses these two thoughts, he can simply laugh to death. But let's not mention the first small goal for now. How do you think about making money? The second small goal for Zhao Chang'an is to list the first batch of 985 universities, Qingbei, that have not yet been listed and will be listed first in a month without any accidents. Other 211 universities, basically, you can give it a try. The reason is that he has not only done the science exam paper for this year's college entrance examination. And I also did it twice. The first time is the college entrance examination in July of this year. I have studied 5 subjects in physics and chemistry outside of language and mathematics. The second time was 16 years later. 3 hours ago, 6 years ago. I have done math, physics, and chemistry. And this time, he also looked at all the standard answers in mathematics, physics, and chemistry. Of course, this is another 6 years in a blink of an eye. Zhao Chang'an basically forgot all the exam questions inside. However, he is still very confident that as long as he sinks down and carefully reviews, he can at least awaken these 3 familiar memories of himself. At the same time, diligently review English. Filter the Chinese textbooks for the 3 years of high school repeatedly. Zhao Chang'an, he has confidence. Why doesn't she ride a bicycle? Zhao Chang'an looked at Dan Kai's back in the rapeseed field and casually asked. What kind of bike are you riding? This girl is wild, always climbing back and forth over the wall. Don't imitate her. That chaotic cemetery is gloomy, and not even a girl's family is afraid. Jiang Jia looked at the girl smashing her mouth, clearly not liking such a girl. Zhao Chang'an looked at Jiang Jia in a daze. Where is courage? You missed the time with her after work at noon, didn't pay attention, and didn't eat at the construction site sooner or later. I don't know. Well, those 2 security guards are waiting for pick up and drop off at the City High courtyard wall. How much does it cost to raise 2 security guards for free every month, even though they look like children from a wealthy family dressed in dirt? Zhang Lishan looked at her son and said seriously, in Chang'an, please stay away from her. Her father is a millionaire, her mother is a famous host in the province and Taiwan, and her grades are first in science in her sophomore year. Ah! Isn't the #1 science major in the second year of high school called Dan Kai? Zhao Chang'an looked surprised. Is it a humanities major? Yes, she's just a single color. Zhang Lishan nodded and affirmed, if you don't have the surname Niu, follow her mother's surname. Zhao Chang'an's heart twitched slightly. It feels like we need to grab something. Single color, the collapsed courtyard wall, flip over the courtyard wall. My father is a millionaire, my mother is a famous host on provincial television, first in science in the second year of high school. Zhao Chang'an had previously thought that this tomboy's voice was a northern accent, from the area around the provincial capital of Jing City. Just didn't think too much. At this point, these fragmented fragments are like pearls. Zhao Chang'an used rational analysis and some memories from life as a thread to thread it. Coherence. If there is still no branch line of the cosmic event process, 15 years later, Zhao Chang'an switched to single-color education under the single-color group. I worked for a full 4 years. When he first joined the Dan Kai group, he heard the name of the chairman, Dan Kai. I was still stunned for a moment. Because he vaguely remembers that in high school, the science hegemon who was 1 year lower than him was also called Dan Kai. There are not many people with the surname Dan, they are all women again, the same name is Dan Kai, and the age is also similar. That's even rarer when it comes to matching clothes. However, Zhao Chang'an searched online and found that this single graduated from Zhenyizhang, and he is still a cripple. Just know that you guessed wrong. So, now it seems that, in the time and space of Zhao Chang'an, the single color group has gone through 7 years of rapid development and has become a giant with an annual output value of over 20 billion yuan, ranking in the top 30 in the province. Dan Kai is also among the top 10 female billionaires in the province. I'm Chow. Zhao Chang'an muttered in a low voice, feeling really unbelievable. Chapter 9. Auntie's Personal Descendants. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Zhao Chang'an returned to the classroom, half of the students had already arrived. Just all the students are on campus, not a single day student came over. Zhao Chang'an, you're too fierce. Iron legs. An hero, there are secret scripts to teach. I am willing to take off my clothes and stay on the bed, promising each other with my own body. Take it. One leg collapses half the wall, Zhao half the wall is truly amazing. Seeing Zhao Chang'an enter the class through the back door. In the classroom of class 6 of grade 3, there was a sudden uproar like a landslide. Various forms of worship. Although Lu Chui mentioned that 2 people were pushing the wall together before, Xia Wenjue and the 3 of them were not big-mouthed either. However, there were still a few high school sophomores who happened to stand by the window and let out the breeze, gazing out at the vast golden rapeseed field to the north. I saw the fierce scene of Zhao Chang'an jumping off the wall. The real situation is obviously more nerve-wracking than a man and a woman pushing the wall to play. More passionate. So things have been fermenting until now, and there is no longer anything Lu Chui can do in the legend. It turned into Zhao Yingxiong's iron leg broke half the wall. Zhao Chang'an ignored these flies. He can only refuse to accept this matter until now. Otherwise, he will definitely have a bad luck, he will also drag Lu Chui into the water. Zhao Chang'an walked straight to the seat in the northeast corner of the classroom and glanced at the small blackboard in front of him. 119 away from the college entrance examination. A sense of urgency that never waited for me suddenly surged up. Anzi, don't talk nonsense. If you don't spread it well, some grandchildren will make small reports, which will be troublesome. Zhao Chang'an's desk mate, Lui Hui, whispered a hint of concern. I know. Zhao Chang'an nodded at Lui Hui, his ears no longer hearing the buzzing flies. I scanned the densely packed vertical rows of textbook materials and exercise books on the desk. Extracted the first volume of high school English, flip open a page casually. Books that are clean can quickly be sold as new books. Seeing Zhao Chang'an's old face turn red. What a young and reckless person. Elephantwa Samadal aged lady will live at Witheron Lysenjon in Asmal House. Zhao Chang'an read it fluently, whispered, thanks to Li Xia. When Zhao Chang'an was in junior high school, he was a key middle school in the old urban area, with a basic full score in mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and a high grade in Chinese language. It was also a legend from back then. It's just that my English is terrible. I got a perfect score of 100 in the middle school entrance examination, but only got 63 points. That's it, the middle school entrance examination score is still in the top 30 in the city. Previously, Zhao Chang'an's father is the deputy general manager of municipal construction and the director of the wood saw factory. My mother is a branch cashier. At that time, the sawmill was the most profitable unit in the city, with the highest salary, generous bonuses, and employees traveling out of the province every year. Of course, the most money is also handed over to the headquarters. The company is like an eagle, approaching retirement age. If we release it early, we value Zhao Shubin's integrity and ability the most. Zhao's family, they have been in the limelight of urban construction for a while. In addition, Zhao Chang'an looks decent and has good grades. When encountering troublemakers, they never fear fighting, regardless of how many people there are or whether their strength is vastly different. Feel a brick and dare to charge. For a moment, she became the charming prince in the hearts of many young girls who had just opened their hearts. Su Wenxiang. Zheng Xiaoxiao, late summer, Wang Yanfei, Yin Wan, these girls fight openly and even engage in 1-on-1 fights for him. Just like a proud little peacock, Xia Wenjue occasionally approaches him intentionally or unintentionally. However, all of this turning point, it is recommended that Zhao Shubin take over as the general manager of urban construction when the eagle retires. At this moment, the construction committee received more than 10 anonymous reports, accusing Zhao Chang'an's parents, deputy factory director Xia Changhai, and the cashier Jiang Jia and his wife of colluding in falsifying accounts. Although it was later proven to be spreading rumors. However, the position of the general manager of urban construction fell on Xia Wenyang, who was also the deputy general manager and the director of the prefabricated board factory. Afterwards, it was Xia Wenyang's relentless suppression of Zhao Shubin. The company dispatched a working group to audit the accounts, and for 9 years, the old accounts were reversed, starting from Zhao Shubin becoming the director of the sawmill. At the high-level resolution meeting, despite Zhao Shubin's strong opposition, it was decided to sell the assets of the sawmill at a low price. Build a clothing market through joint ventures on the vacant space. Until the end, Zhao Chang'an's parents, along with Xia Changhai and his wife, and several other colleagues, being kicked out of the house. Because it's too clean and I haven't saved any money. For a moment, my family was impoverished and surrounded by walls. And Zhao Chang'an gradually became eccentric, gloomy, and difficult to understand. The grades plummeted. In the second year of high school, I was kicked out of the key class when I was divided into arts and sciences. Although Zhao Chang'an's English is poor, a few years later, he met an English tutoring teacher from Dankai Education, fell in love, got married, had children, and started a family. The dominantly Shia, using the reason of cultivating a girl's context from a young age. Odd dates must be used for communication at home, even numbered dates should also be in English as much as possible. Even if Zhao Chang'an doesn't cooperate during the day, then she won't cooperate at night. As a threat. Hardly corrected Zhao Chang'an's English proficiency. Zhao Chang'an glanced at the high school English for a few minutes and then put the book back. Extracted high school sophomore English, it's also basically unobstructed. Then jumped directly to the last lesson in the second volume of high school. Suddenly a little dumbfounded. So he returned his gold to the first volume of his senior year. Quickly flipped through it with a clatter. I quickly identified my weakness, which is that I don't know most of the new English words in my senior year. If I could come back a year, 3 or 4 months later and wear it again, it wouldn't be a problem. I'll also know how my daughter did on the exam. Zhao Chang'an put down his book with some melancholy. Take a long sigh. Saying that you don't miss or care, that's fake. He shook his head vigorously and said, let's start with the first lesson of the third year of high school. Fortunately, 4 months is barely enough time. Then he lifted his spirits, opened his textbook, and held a pen. Look carefully. Seeing Zhao Chang'an not taking the call, the classroom gradually quieted down. I never studied before and got a score of 401,683. It is rare to actively pick up textbooks to learn. So, what are the reasons why these good/bad grades don't work hard? After all, that 119 away from the college entrance examination, just hang it prominently there. At this moment, the spring light outside the window is just right, the classroom is silent, there was only the various noises of a large group of construction workers outside, and the clattering sound of knocking down the courtyard wall. When Su Jingfan received the news, he was attending a meeting on the outskirts of the mountain city. He, who had just finished cooking, didn't even have time to take a bite of hot food, so he took a few steamed buns from the table and hurried back. Simultaneously, make phone calls one by one and make various follow-up arrangements. Returning to school and conducting on-site inspections to discuss plans, everything was already busy and it was almost 2 p.m., with half an hour left until work. Su Jingfan watched the time gap and returned to the room. Sure enough, I saw that my niece had not left yet and was doing exercises. Wan, you didn't push that wall today, you shared the blame for that person named Zhao Chang'an. Su Jingfan came straight to the point and expressed his thoughts. As the first person, he has always been surrounded by beardlers who give small reports. And with his understanding of his niece's personality, even if he found any cracks in the wall, she wouldn't rashly push them. I won't even shout for a boy, let's push together. Lu Chui looked up at her uncle and said, Uncle, please don't disturb me. I'm busy doing exercises. Just one sentence, Su Jingfan suddenly lost his temper. He also knew that his niece was hinting to him that it was almost time for the college entrance examination and a safety hazard had collapsed. As for how it actually collapsed, why bother too much? At the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of my uncle leaving the study feeling depressed. Lu Chui smiled proudly. Xiaoyang, I am my aunt's biological disciple, and I still can't deal with you. Little Girl's Movie. As Su Zhengfan walked out of the study, he smiled helplessly and shook his head. Forget it, it's hard to get confused once. They are all their own students. What's going on with Zhao Chang'an? Is it worth Wanwan blocking the gun for him? I need to report this matter to my wife well tonight. Don't let her train me to death in case anything goes wrong. Chapter 10. The Highest Realm of Curse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As day students entered the classroom became lively again. There are legends circulating about Zhao Chang'an's great achievement of breaking half the wall with his iron legs. Old Zheng, Wu Yu, and even Fu Qingwei, Yu Yunwei, and Zhu Liang from the liberal arts class, who have a relatively close relationship with Zhao Chang'an, came over to admire Zhao Chang'an's enchanting demeanor. Looking at the faces filled with collagen, Zhao Chang'an sighed in his heart, time is really a pig-killing knife. Anzi, at noon, Yu Yingming and Deng Rui found someone to block you at the business school. Fortunately, you kicked down the courtyard wall and didn't go back. Zhang Shun, known as Lanli Baitiao in the martial arts world, sat down in his seat. Turn around and speak softly to Zhao Chang'an. He wants to die. Anzi, tonight we'll take them to the chaotic graveyard, hit them on the old grave, hit them in front of the old grave, and make them kneel and kowtow to call dad. The reason why Zhao Chang'an is playing with Lui Hui is that this guy has a personality similar to him. No trouble, no fear. It's better to take action first when encountering problems. If you don't take action, it's better to be steady, accurate, and ruthless. That's really it, these two idiots. Zhao Chang'an wanted to laugh in surprise. It seems that the course of this matter is not like that of single color. It should have occurred before the radiation impact of the event pivot. Or perhaps the existing fulcrum radiation, SV, intensity emitted by Zhao Chang'an is not enough to change the current process of this matter. I just heard what Li Qing said. If you go with me at night, it's a big deal to make a detour, or you can ask someone in the yard to give your mother a message. Let's sleep together. Don't you like eating my mother's wonton, a refrigerator? I'll go back and call my cousin to find out who it is, and I'll settle it for you. Zhang Xuanin's sinister charm smiled and said, I'll ask my cousin to find some buddies to give them swollen faces, and then let them hold an apology banquet. Don't, your mother falls asleep at night and runs over to cover herself. She can do it 2 or 3 times a night, and I'm scared. Okay, don't worry about this matter, it's almost time for the college entrance examination. Whoever cares about me and who will turn against me? Zhao Chang'an first looked seriously at the uncertain factor Zhang Shun in a deep voice. Seeing his displeased nod, he gave a brilliant smile and said, brothers, take your time watching the good show. It's absolutely exciting, subverting your barren imagination. That kid from the Golden Lion King is talented. Golden-haired. That leprous dog from the business school. Zhang Shun exclaimed in surprise, this grandson is tired of living and wants to die. Zhao Chang'an, which of the migrant workers here is your father? A disgusting voice, suddenly, it started ringing in the classroom. Yu Yingming, who was painfully slaughtered by the 5 golden hairs, heard of Zhao Chang'an's great deeds at noon as soon as he entered the classroom. I was so angry that I almost vomited blood. He widened his dead fish eyes outside the school and looked for 10 or 20 minutes. Spending so much unjustified money again. Who would have thought that this grandson didn't even go home at noon and stomped the wall to show his authority? How can I not be angry? Yu Yingming drank beer at noon, and his eyes turned red as he shouted loudly. I want to humiliate Zhao Chang'an in this way. Yu Yingming, how can you speak? Lu Chui, who had just entered the classroom, patted a table and stood up, saying, "Are you drunk and have nothing to do with it? I'm just curious." Yu Yingming really dares not provoke Lu Chui, especially when he drinks and causes trouble. He will definitely suffer losses. I had to immediately turn off the engine. Zhao Chang'an, whose eyes were fixed on the gentle breeze and grinning, thought fiercely in his heart, "There's a kind of way to laugh when you're beaten to death at noon. Yu Yingming, you know what? In my eyes, you are just a..." At this moment, the classroom suddenly became quiet. Everyone listens attentively. Even Yu Yingming wants to hear what Zhao Chang'an wants to say. "Zhao Chang'an, you also shut up. You didn't listen to Jiao Wang. Teacher Lu said you have the ability to learn and see the truth above." Lu Chui frowned and looked from afar at Zhao Chang'an to stop her. "Yu Yingming, you know what? In my eyes, you are just a..." Zhao Chang'an repeated what he had just said, word for word. Then, the entire classroom fell silent again. Puff. A long and loud fart with a whistling sound. It rings from Zhao Chang'an's place. My time. Damn it. The smoke made Lui Hui, his desk mate, and Zhang Shun and Hu Wugang in front of him all scream and leave their seats to avoid it. The students in the class were all stunned. I really haven't seen anyone who can fart so arrogantly. Fart. Ha ha ha, it's just a fart. Ha ha ha. Having a good relationship with Zhao Chang'an, Wu Yu sitting in front reacted. Clapping the table and laughing. Then, humble, the whole classroom was laughing like an earthquake. Some male and female students with low laughter points burst into tears while holding their stomachs. This Zhao Chang'an is really despicable. This matter won't take a day, it will make the whole campus laugh. Zhao Chang'an, I'm fighting with you. At this moment, Yu Yingming, who was so angry that his face turned red with blood, went crazy and wished to die with Zhao Chang'an in order to wash away the shame on his body. Yu Yingming, don't go crazy, okay? Class monitor Fan Chao and deputy class monitor Qi Xiangfeng tightly hugged Yu Yingming and refused to let him pass. Am I crazy? Fan Chao, don't pull the crossbar. Yu Yingming shouted at the top of his throat. Why did I pull the trigger? What did Zhao Chang'an do to you? Did he hit you or scold you, but instead, did you start causing trouble when you entered the class? Fan Chao's face was filled with annoyance. I made trouble, he didn't scold me. Yu Yingming laughed in anger. What did he curse at you for? At this moment, Li Yanxiu, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. The whole class was shocked. Even Lu Chui, who had not yet sat down, looked at Li Yanxiu in disbelief. I couldn't tell when Zhao Chang'an, this wilted guy, had hooked up with Li Yanxiu. Yu Yingming was momentarily frustrated. He couldn't say he was a fart. He didn't say anything or curse, he just farted. Lao Jing explained it very seriously and fairly. Ha! The whole class burst into laughter again. Ringing bell. At this moment, the preparatory bell rang. Don't laugh. Fan Chao shouted loudly and looked at Li Yanxiu, who had not looked at him, with complicated eyes, and suddenly lost all interest. Release the embrace of Yu Yingming, board said, it's almost time for class. Think it over, you can't handle this. Yu Yingming, that's it. You really want to graduate soon and make a big mistake. Zheng Xiaoxiao, who had been watching coldly, finally spoke up. Zhao Chang'an, you wait. Yu Yingming met Zheng Xiaoxiao's angry gaze and immediately pounced. He said a harsh word to Zhao Chang'an and sat back in his seat. Don't just say, don't practice, it makes me wait until the flowers wither. Zhao Chang'an was afraid of this thing and immediately pushed it back. Do you know? I'll wait until the flowers also wither. In Jackie Chung's singing class, almost everyone can sing. Zhang Shun, who had long been displeased with Yu Yingming, immediately shouted out a line of lyrics. Haha, the class was filled with laughter again. Amidst laughter, English teacher N.I. Yan was wearing a dress, high heels, and long wavy hair. Walking into the classroom with a clattering sound. The students are so happy, who can tell me why, haha, the whole class, laughing again. Only Yu Yingming, Deng Rui, and Zheng Xiaoxiao had pale faces. Zhao Gu, Anzi is in that classroom. I saw him. Anzi is looking down at a book, but he is very serious. He will definitely be able to get into our city's agricultural college. Jiang Jie walked up to Zhao Shubin and Xia Changhai, who were digging the wall, with a face full of joy. Xiao Jiang, keep your voice down and make others laugh. Zhao Shubin's old face turned red. In fact, he also wanted to take a look at his son's learning environment over there, but he was afraid of being recognized by the students in the city and causing embarrassment to his son. Is the Municipal Agricultural College not a university? Jiang Jie clearly didn't take it seriously. Thinking that my godson might become a precious son. In law, my heart suddenly became even happier.